In many cases, most innovations come from the SME community. So it's actually critically important that that innovation cycle is developed, maintained and enhanced. Some of those SMEs will grow up to be large companies, but in many cases, in fact, the IP is purchased or the companies are bought by some of the larger organisations. So in fact, it's a symbiotic cycle that's required, and that relationship is really important between the SME community and the larger companies in terms of bringing new innovations to market, but also obviously in terms of developing the healthcare community, because they're small, they're agile, they can respond quickly. Eucomed set up the task force in recognition of the fact that there are so many SME companies across Europe, and they have a number of common challenges in terms of how they would get access to the market and to the distribution and supply chain. So that was the original rationale behind establishing it. We brought together a group of people from the National Associations Network who would represent many of these small companies. And as a result of that, we brought together countries, in effect, from Ireland, the UK, Sweden, Belgium, Spain, and others, and all came together to really decide to look and see, first of all, what the extent of the SME community is within the industry, and then to understand what the key challenges and opportunities for growth for them are. So that was some of the background and the rationale there. When the group came together, we identified the companies that are making, designing and manufacturing the products. So again, the group came together and we identified what would be the particular challenges and opportunities for those companies within Europe, so trading within Europe and outside Europe, but very much looking at it from a policy perspective in a way that an organisation such as Eucomed, as an umbrella organisation, can affect change and can be a representative voice across the borders. The initial thing we did was to draft the report, so that was the first time that's been done. We brought together everybody and we defined a number of key issues that needed to be looked at from the industry's perspective. The first was, it really was about the knowledge, about the extent and the base of the industry here. So we did a quick survey as part of our report, but really the depth of that would not be the extent that's required. And even since then, a number of people have asked for more detail, and we would say that is as much as we could do within the resources that we had available at the time. So we would be calling on the Commission and other stakeholders to really look at identifying the sector and understanding at a much more detailed level what the map of the industry is now, and also to analyse that over a period of time. That's a pretty big ask, but that was the premise behind it, really to say that this is a big industry, it's important in many respects for both the health and the wealth of Europe, and how do we understand it and then support it. So that was the big ask that we have, and we're still working on that one. We had a number of other areas that we identified. One was the consistent application of regulations across Europe, so to ensure that the companies that were importing into Europe, as well as those who are servicing the market from within Europe, are all treated equally. And there would be some concerns that those who are coming in from outside of Europe may not be under as stringent a regulation as those who are working here all the time. So we would feel it's very important to focus on that and to ensure that the regulation and the standards, both for the sake of the industry here, but obviously also for the patient population, are equally managed for all stakeholders. For companies that are developing new products, it's really important that those products, because they're quite advanced and innovative, get to market in a timely fashion. It's also really important that the regulators and the regulations keep up with these new types of products as they're being developed. So one of the things that we're trying to do, I suppose, is to identify the importance of having regulation that, while it's efficient and effective, is also able to deal with these new types of products as they're being defined. The next area then is around funding. So it's very important again that startup companies have access to funding in an efficient timeline. And there are many programs that are available through European funding, and they're absolutely vital and important. There's some aspects of those that are currently make it quite difficult for SMEs to access the funding that they require in a timely way. So again, it's ensuring that they have the funding, that it's available quickly, and that they have access to these big framework programs in a way that suits a smaller company. So that's something we are focusing on as well. There's a particular type of funding that's available in the US. It's called Small Business Innovation and Research Funding. And that's a particular type of funding that we'd like to see here in Europe. our indications are from recent discussions with the Commission that that is quite likely to happen over the next year or so. So again, very good news there for SMEs. The last area then is around the distribution channels. So if you can imagine you're a very small startup company, you've got a great product, you know your market is out there, but how do you actually get the product onto the marketplace? Again, you're dealing in very difficult circumstances for a startup. And we would advise all startup companies, all companies that are looking to get their products to market, to very quickly look at how they're going to distribute. From a European perspective, how can we support those companies? It really is about access to information. So how do the different distribution models work across the various countries? And again, the member states can support that by providing information to SMEs.
When we look at SMEs in Europe, you can't talk about SMEs in Europe because the SMEs and the culture of SMEs and the supporting infrastructure for SMEs differ country by country. You go to Germany and you see a very strong and vibrant SME marketplace, but you don't see the same thing in Spain or in Italy or in Greece. And so it's difficult to talk about SMEs in a generic sense across all of Europe because so much of it is culturally dependent, nationally dependent, based upon the local laws, okay? And also, if you look at even things such as the educational systems and how they differ across different countries in Europe, you know, the German system with its apprenticeship model tends to support an SME culture and an ecosystem differently than a UK system, which is very different with regards to its university focus and the different types of universities. And also, the UK in some ways is more like the United States with regards to the way that it approaches the marketplace for the development of smaller companies.